The first thing I noticed when I walked through my front door was the silence. No video game sounds from Darnell's room, no pop music from Jennifer's, just the hollow echo of my footsteps and the faint sound of giggling. I'm Hannah, and I just spent 2 weeks in the hospital recovering from major surgery. All I wanted was to hug my kids and sleep in my own bed. Instead, I found my sister-in-law Tatum perched on my living room couch like she owned the place, scrolling through her phone with a smirk on her face. "Where are the kids?" I asked, my stomach already nodding. Something felt wrong. Tatum looked up, her perfectly manicured fingers still tapping away at her screen. "Oh, Hannah, you're home earlier than expected. How are you feeling?" "Where are my children, Tatum?" She waved her hand dismissively. "They're fine, safe and sound at Wellington Academy. It's the best boarding school in the state." The room started spinning. "Boarding school? What are you talking about?" "Well, someone had to step up while you were indisposed," she said, emphasizing the last word, like my surgery had been an inconvenience to her. Clifford agreed it was for the best. "Clifford," my voice cracked. "My husband agreed to send our children away without even telling me. He knows I have their best interest at heart. Always have." She stood up, smoothing her designer dress. "The local schools here are so inadequate. Wellington will give them the advantages they deserve." I grabbed my phone, hands shaking as I dialed Clifford's number. He answered on the third ring. "Why didn't you tell me?" I demanded, before he could even say hello. "Hannah, honey, I was going to explain when you got home," he said, his voice maddeningly calm. "Tatum found this amazing opportunity." "Amazing opportunity? They're our children, Clifford, not some business deal." "Keep your voice down," Tatum interrupted, placing her hand on my arm. I jerked away from her touch. "The doctors said you need to avoid stress. Don't you dare pretend to care about my health," I spat. "You waited until I was literally on an operating table to steal my children." "Steal?" Tatum laughed, that irritating giggle again. "Don't be so dramatic. I've done you a favor. Now you can focus on your recovery without worrying about the kids." Clifford's voice came through the phone. "Hannah, please. Tatum's right. You need to rest." "I need my children," I shouted, tears streaming down my face. "How far away is this school? When can I see them?" Tatum's smile turned predatory. "Wellington has a strict adjustment period. No parental contact for the first month. It helps them settle in." The room went silent, except for the sound of blood rushing in my ears. A month? They expected me to go a month without seeing my babies. "Get out," I whispered. "Excuse me?" Tatum's eyes widened in mock offense. "Get out of my house." She gathered her designer purse, shaking her head like I was being unreasonable. "I'll give you time to process this. You'll thank me later, Hannah. You always do." As soon as she left, I collapsed onto the couch, still clutching my phone. Clifford was saying something, but I couldn't focus on his words. My eyes landed on a family photo on the wall, Jennifer's 13th birthday, just 3 months ago. Darnell was making bunny ears behind his sister's head, and we were all laughing. My phone buzzed with a text from my friend Georgia. "Heard you're home. Want me to bring dinner over?" I typed back quickly. "Come now, please. Emergency." 20 minutes later, Georgia found me still on the couch, surrounded by printouts of Wellington Academy's website that I'd managed to find and print. "They took my kids," I said, my voice hollow. "Tatum convinced Clifford to send them away while I was under anesthesia." Georgia's face darkened. "That snake, she's been trying to control your family for years. But this is a new low." I looked up at my friend, something shifting inside me. The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by a cold, clear anger. "She thinks she's won, that I'm too weak right now to fight back. And are you?" I picked up the Wellington Academy brochure, noticing for the first time the list of board members and investors at the back. A familiar name caught my eye, and suddenly I remembered something important, something Tatum didn't know about. "No," I said, a plan already forming in my mind. "I'm not weak at all. And Tatum just made the biggest mistake of her life." "You own what?" Georgia nearly spilled her coffee across my kitchen table. 15% of Wellington Academy, I said, spreading out the investment documents I'd dug up from my home office, and 12% of their sister school, Thornfield Prep. It was part of my grandmother's estate. I never paid much attention because the quarterly reports always looked fine. Georgia leaned forward, her eyes scanning the papers. Does Tatum know about this? No. The investments are under my maiden name. I took a sip of my own coffee, grimacing at the cold liquid. But that's not all. Look at this. I pulled up my laptop, showing her the email I'd received from the school's financial director just minutes ago. Apparently, there's a major stakeholder meeting next week. Something about policy changes and budget approvals. Perfect timing, Georgia said, then hesitated. But Hannah, are you sure you're strong enough for this? You just had surgery. I'm stronger than Tatum thinks. I stood up, ignoring the slight pull of stitches. Besides, I've got more motivation than she could ever imagine. My phone buzzed. Clifford again. I'd been avoiding his calls since yesterday. You should talk to him, Georgia advised. He needs to understand what his sister really is. I answered the phone, putting it on speaker. Yes? Hannah, please. Clifford's voice cracked slightly. Can we talk about this? I'm coming home early. Good, there's something you need to see. 30 minutes later, Clifford walked in, looking tired and guilty. Before he could speak, I handed him a stack of papers. What's this? He asked. Bank statements, family trust documents, emails. I watched his face as he started reading. Your sister has been systematically isolating and manipulating this family for years. His brow furrowed. What are you talking about? Remember when she convinced you to miss Jennifer's piano recital for that emergency business meeting? There was no meeting. Remember when she told us Darnell's baseball coach had concerns about his behavior? I called the coach yesterday. He never said anything of the sort. Clifford sank into a chair. That doesn't mean... Keep reading, Georgia interrupted. Show him the trust fund papers, Hannah. I pulled out the relevant documents. She's been siphoning money from the children's trust funds to pay for this boarding school. Funds that, by the way, she shouldn't even have access to. That's impossible, Clifford protested, but his voice wavered. Tatum would never... The doorbell rang. Georgia peeked through the window and groaned. Speak of the devil. Tatum breezed in without waiting for an invitation, Knox trailing behind her. Family meeting. I brought lunch. Oh. She stopped short, seeing all of us gathered around the papers. What's going on? Just reviewing some interesting financial documents, I said coolly. Care to explain why your signature is on my children's trust fund withdrawals? Tatum's smile didn't waver, but her eyes hardened. As their aunt and a financial advisor, I'm simply managing their assets responsibly. You mean stealing from them? Georgia muttered. Excuse me? Knox stepped forward. My wife doesn't steal. She's trying to help your children get the best education possible. I turned to him. Knox, when was the last time you checked your own accounts? Really checked them? A flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. Tatum shot me a warning look. You're just upset because you're not in control right now, she said smoothly. The medication must be making you paranoid. Clifford, maybe we should consider... Consider what? I cut in. Having me declared incompetent? Is that your next move? The room went silent. Clifford looked between his sister and me, confusion and doubt warring on his face. I would never, Tatum gasped, but her hand tightened on her purse strap. I love this family. Everything I do is for this family. No, I said, standing up straight despite the pain in my abdomen. Everything you do is for yourself. But you made one crucial mistake, Tatum. Oh? Her lips curved in that condescending smile I'd grown to hate. And what's that? You sent my children to Wellington Academy without checking who owns it. I pulled out my investment portfolio. Would you like to know who has the power to change school policies, including their ridiculous no-contact rule? For the first time since I'd known her, Tatum's perfect mask cracked. She snatched the papers from my hands, her face paling as she read. This is, she started. Just the beginning, I finished for her. Now, would you like to tell everyone what you've really been up to, or should I? My phone lit up with an unknown number. Normally, I'd let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. Mom, Jennifer's whispered voice made my heart skip. Jenny, baby, are you okay? I'm hiding in the bathroom. We're not supposed to have phones, but Sarah let me borrow hers. Her voice cracked. Mom, I hate it here. They took Darnell to a different campus. I haven't seen him in days. I gripped the phone tighter. They separated you. Tatum said it was better this way. Something about different programs, for different needs. Jennifer sniffled. Dad won't answer my emails. Are you sick? They told us you were too sick to take care of us. I'm fine, sweetheart. I'm coming to get you both, I promise. I checked my watch. I have a meeting with the school board tomorrow. Mrs. Harrison is really strict, Mom. She says we can't leave until... A sharp knock interrupted her. I have to go. The line went dead. I immediately called Georgia. They separated my children. Different campuses. That's not in any of the enrollment paperwork, she said. I've been going through everything you sent over. Meet me at the coffee shop near Wellington. I need to do some reconnaissance before tomorrow's board meeting. An hour later, Georgia and I sat at a corner table, watching the steady stream of Wellington Academy parents and staff members coming in for their morning coffee. That's Mrs. Harrison, Georgia whispered, nodding toward a stern-looking woman in a tailored suit. The headmistress Jennifer mentioned. I stood up, smoothing my blazer. Perfect timing. Mrs. Harrison. I approached her table. I'm Hannah, one of the school's investors. I was hoping we could chat. Her eyes narrowed slightly. I wasn't aware we had a meeting scheduled. We don't. But given tomorrow's board meeting, I thought it might be helpful to discuss some concerns privately first. I sat down without waiting for an invitation, particularly about the new split campus policy. Ah, yes, Mrs. Phillips assured us the board was fully informed. Mrs. Phillips? I interrupted. Tatum Phillips. In what capacity does she speak for the board? Mrs. Harrison frowned. As the liaison for family enrollment and policy implementation, she's been quite insistent about certain changes. I see. I pulled out my phone, showing her my investment documentation. As a major stakeholder, I find it concerning that these decisions were made without proper board approval. The color drained from her face. I was led to believe, that is, Mrs. Phillips said. I'm sure she did. Tell me, how many other families have been affected by this split campus policy? 3, including the Bennett children. She swallowed hard. Mrs. Phillips said it was a pilot program. And the no-contact policy. That was also her recommendation. She said it was standard practice at elite institutions. My phone buzzed with a text from Georgia. Knox just walked in. I looked up to see Tatum's husband ordering coffee, his shoulders tense. He'd been unusually quiet during yesterday's confrontation. Thank you for your time, Mrs. Harrison, I said, standing. I look forward to discussing these policies further at tomorrow's meeting. I intercepted Knox at the counter. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you, he muttered. But his hands shook as he reached for his coffee. Really, because I have plenty to say about the money Tatum's been moving through your joint accounts. He froze. What are you talking about? I led him to a quiet corner. $300,000, Knox. That's how much she's transferred from various family accounts in the past year alone. Did you really think those home renovation costs were legitimate? She said it was for the children's future. His voice was barely audible. Private tutors, educational consultants. Check your accounts, really check them. And ask yourself why she needed to separate my children and cut off all contact with their parents. Knox's face crumpled. She wouldn't. She couldn't. She did. And tomorrow, everyone's going to know exactly what she's been doing. I handed him a copy of the financial records. The question is, are you going to keep enabling her, or are you going to help me protect these children? He stared at the papers for a long moment. The board meeting. What time? 9 a.m. Don't tell Tatum you're coming. As I walked back to Georgia's table, my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Mom? This time it was Darnell's voice, thick with tears. Can you come get me, please? Soon, baby, I promised, my resolve strengthening. Very soon. Just hold on one more day. I looked at Georgia, who was already gathering her things. Time to finish this, she said. Yes, I agreed. Time to bring my children home. The Wellington Academy boardroom felt colder than it should have. I adjusted my blazer, trying to ignore the surgical pain, as I took my seat at the long mahogany table. Georgia squeezed my hand under the table. You've got this, she whispered. Board members filed in one by one, their curious glances darting between me and the thick folders in front of each seat. Mrs. Harrison sat rigidly at the far end, her face pale. Knox slipped in just before 9, choosing a seat near the door. Then Tatum walked in, her usual confident smile faltering when she saw me. What are you doing here? She hissed, dropping her designer bag on the table. Attending a board meeting, as is my right as a major stakeholder. You're not well enough to— Let's begin, announced Mr. Peterson, the board chairman. First item, the recent policy changes regarding campus separation and parent communication restrictions. Tatum smoothly interrupted. As I've explained in previous meetings, these changes are essential for— Actually, I stood up, ignoring the pull of stitches. I'd like to address these policies first, specifically how they were implemented without proper board approval. That's ridiculous, Tatum scoffed. Everything was properly documented. Was it? I opened the folders in front of each board member because these financial records show something very different. The room filled with the sound of rustling papers and sharp intakes of breath. Tatum's perfectly manicured nails drummed against the table. Mrs. Harrison, I turned to the headmistress. Would you please share what you told me yesterday about Mrs. Phillips's role in these changes? Mrs. Harrison cleared her throat. Mrs. Phillips presented herself as the board's official liaison. She insisted the policies had full approval, which they didn't, Mr. Peterson confirmed, frowning at the documents. These signatures, they're not legitimate. Of course they are. Tatum stood up, her voice rising. Everything I've done is for the good of these children. Hannah is clearly unstable. Is that why you forged my signature on these withdrawal forms? Knox's quiet voice cut through her protests. He pulled out more papers from his briefcase. I checked our accounts last night, Tatum. All of them. The color drained from Tatum's face. Knox, darling, I can explain. Explain what? I pressed. How you've been systematically isolating children from their families. How you've been embezzling from their trust funds. That's a serious accusation, Mr. Peterson said gravely. With serious evidence. I nodded to Georgia, who started passing out another set of documents. Bank records, forged signatures, falsified board approvals, and statements from other families who've been similarly targeted. The boardroom door opened again. Clifford walked in, followed by 2 police officers. No, Tatum whispered, her perfect facade cracking. Clifford, you can't. I already did, my husband said quietly. I filed the police report this morning. Officers, Mr. Peterson stood. I believe we have some matters to discuss regarding fraudulent financial activities. Tatum's eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal. You don't understand. Hannah was neglecting those children. Someone had to step in. By stealing from them, Knox's voice shook. By separating siblings and cutting them off from their parents. I was protecting them. No, I said firmly. You were controlling them, like you've tried to control everyone around you. But it's over now. The officers stepped forward. Mrs. Phillips, we need you to come with us. This isn't happening. She laughed hysterically. You'll regret this, Hannah. All of you will regret this. As the officers let her out, her threats echoing down the hallway, Mr. Peterson cleared his throat. I believe we need to take an emergency vote on reversing these unauthorized policies. He looked around the room. All in favor? Every hand went up. Motion passed. Mrs. Harrison, please make arrangements for the Bennett children to be reunited immediately. I sagged in relief, feeling Georgia's supportive arm around my shoulders. Clifford approached slowly, his eyes red-rimmed. Hannah, I'm so sorry. I should have seen. Later, I cut him off. Right now, I need to get our children. Knox stood up, keys in hand. I'll drive you. It's the least I can do. As we left the boardroom, Mr. Peterson called out, Hannah, there's something else you should know. We found similar patterns at other schools, other families. This goes deeper than we thought. I turned back, steel in my voice. Then we'll help them too. But first, I'm bringing my babies home. Georgia squeezed my hand one last time. Go get them. I'll start making calls. Those other families deserve to know the truth too. Walking out of Wellington Academy, I felt stronger than I had in weeks. The surgery scar pulled with each step, but it didn't matter. I was finally going to see my children. And Tatum, she was about to learn that karma has perfect aim. Mom, Jennifer's voice echoed across the Wellington Academy courtyard as she ran toward me, her uniform skirt flying behind her. I caught her in my arms, ignoring the sharp pain in my abdomen. I knew you'd come, she sobbed into my shoulder. I knew you weren't too sick. Knox shifted uncomfortably beside us. I'll go get the car ready for Thornfield. That's where Darnell is. How could she do this? Jennifer pulled back, wiping her eyes. Aunt Tatum told us you were in a mental hospital, that you couldn't take care of us anymore. My blood ran cold. She what? She said we had to keep it a secret from everyone, Jennifer continued. She made us write these weird letters, saying we wanted to stay here, said if we didn't, they'd take us away from you forever. Clifford, who had been silent until now, made a choked sound. Jenny, I'm so sorry. I should have questioned her more. Dad, Jennifer's voice was small. Why did you let her send us away? Before he could answer, Mrs. Harrison approached, with Jennifer's belongings. Everything's packed, and there's something else you should see. She handed me a file. Letters Tatum made all the separated children write. She was building a case for custodial interference. Building a case? Clifford took the file, his hands shaking. Against who? Against me, I said, scanning the documents. These letters paint me as an unfit mother. She was going to use them to take the kids permanently. Knox returned, car keys jingling nervously. We should get to Thornfield before they break for lunch. Darnell's waiting. The drive to Thornfield Prep was tense. Jennifer sat pressed against me in the back seat, as if afraid I'd disappear. Clifford kept trying to catch my eye in the rearview mirror, but I focused on the passing scenery instead. Thornfield was smaller than Wellington, but just as imposing. Darnell was already waiting at the front steps with his duffel bag, his face lighting up when he saw us. Mom, he crashed into me with the force of a small tornado. Did you get my message? I borrowed Tommy's phone and I got it, baby. I held him tight, breathing in the familiar scent of his shampoo. I'm here now. Mrs. Bennett, a tall man in a suit, approached. I'm Dr. Roberts, the headmaster. There are some concerning incidents we need to discuss regarding Darnell's behavior. What incidents? I asked, keeping my arm around my son. He's been resistant to our program, refusing to participate in mandatory counseling sessions about his family situation. Counseling sessions? Knox interrupted. What counseling sessions? Dr. Roberts consulted his tablet. Mrs. Phillips arranged them. She said the children needed help processing their mother's instability. The only unstable person here is Tatum, I said firmly, and she's currently in police custody for fraud and embezzlement. The headmaster's face paled. I had no idea. She seemed so concerned about the children's welfare. She was concerned about control, Knox said quietly. She's always been obsessed with controlling everyone around her. Jennifer tugged at my sleeve. Can we go home now, please? Yes, I said, gathering both my children close. We're going home. As we walked to the car, Dr. Roberts called out, there will be an investigation into all of this. Other families will need to be notified. I know, I replied, and we'll help them. But right now, my children need to be home. The drive back was filled with Darnell and Jennifer's chatter as they caught up on their forced separation. In the front seat, Clifford gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. Hannah, he started, I don't know how to make this right. Not now, I said quietly. We'll talk later. Knox cleared his throat. I should get to the police station. They'll need my statement about the financial records. Mom, Darnell asked from beside me. Is Aunt Tatum going to jail? Probably, I answered honestly. She hurt a lot of people. Good, Jennifer said fiercely. She deserves it. My phone buzzed with a text from Georgia. More families coming forward. 5 so far, all with similar stories. You started something big here. I looked at my children, safe beside me, then at Clifford's guilty profile in the driver's seat, and finally at Knox's devastated expression. Tatum's actions had rippled out, affecting so many lives, but now the truth was coming to light. When we get home, I said, we're ordering pizza and watching movies all day. No homework, no phones, no interruptions. Can we build a blanket fort? Darnell asked hopefully. The biggest one ever, I promised, holding them close. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about rebuilding what they tried to break. 7 families, Georgia announced, spreading files across my dining room table, all with the same pattern. Tatum would target families during medical emergencies or personal crises, then swoop in as the caring relative. And the money? Knox asked from his corner of the table. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Siphoned through a network of fake educational consulting companies, Georgia replied. Your signature is on most of the paperwork, Knox. He put his head in his hands. I never read the documents she gave me. I just trusted her. The doorbell rang. Jennifer peeked out from the blanket fort in the living room, where she and Darnell were watching movies. Is that the police again? No, sweetie, it's probably the other families. I opened the door to find 3 couples standing there, looking uncertain. I'm Sarah's mom, one woman said. From Wellington, Georgia called us. Come in, I gestured them inside. We have a lot to discuss. As they settled around the table, their stories poured out. Each one was painfully familiar. Medical emergencies, family crises, Tatum, appearing with promises of help and solutions. She told us our daughter needed special counseling. Sarah's father said that the separation from her brother was therapeutic. She convinced my husband I was too depressed to make decisions about our sons. Another mother added tearfully, I only had postpartum anxiety, but she made it sound like I was dangerous. Knox stood up abruptly. I need to show you something. He pulled out his laptop, opening financial records. These are the real numbers, what she did with your money. The room fell silent as they looked at the screen. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, moved through shell companies and fake educational programs. Why? Sarah's mother whispered. Why would she do this? Power, Clifford said from the doorway. I hadn't heard him come in. My sister. She's always needed to control everything, everyone. Dad, Darnell called out. Come see our fort. Clifford hesitated, looking at me. I nodded slightly, and he disappeared into the living room. The detective called, Georgia said, checking her phone. Tatum's being charged with multiple counts of fraud, embezzlement, and custodial interference. They're executing a search warrant on her home office right now. Knox's phone buzzed. His face went ash white as he read the message. They found more files, detailed plans for taking permanent custody of Jennifer and Darnell. She had fake psychological evaluations, forged court documents, everything. My stomach lurched. She was never going to let them come home. Mom, Jennifer appeared in the doorway, wrapped in a blanket. Is Aunt Tatum going to try to take us away again? No, baby. I held out my arms, and she came to me. She can't hurt us anymore. The police want statements from all the children, Georgia said gently. But they'll do it with child psychologists present. Make it as easy as possible. Sarah's father stood up. We should form a support group. For the families and the kids, they need to know they're not alone. I can help with that, Knox offered quietly. It's the least I can do, considering you were a victim too, I reminded him. She manipulated everyone. The doorbell rang again. This time it was the detective, holding a stack of papers. We found something else, she said, laying out documents. Evidence of similar schemes in 3 other states. Different names, same pattern. This goes back years. The other parents gathered around, recognizing names and dates. Stories of other families, other children, separated and manipulated. What do you need from us? I asked. Statements, testimony, evidence of financial fraud. The detective looked around the room. The more families that come forward, the stronger the case. We'll help, Sarah's mother said firmly. All of us will. From the living room, I heard Darnell laugh at something Clifford said. The sound of my son's happiness, so recently restored, strengthened my resolve. There's one more thing, Knox said. The school board meeting tomorrow. They're voting on new policies to prevent this from ever happening again. We'll be there, I promised, all of us. As the other families began sharing contact information and making plans, I watched Jennifer rejoin her brother in their blanket fort. Clifford caught my eye, his face full of remorse and hope. Hannah, he started. Later, I said. Right now, our children need us both. My phone buzzed with another text from the detective. Tatum's asking to make a deal. Says she has information about other cases. I looked at the families around my dining room table, all brought together by one woman's manipulation. Then at my children, safe in their fortress of blankets and pillows. Tell her no deal, I texted back. We're taking this all the way. Sometimes justice needs to be complete to truly heal the wounds left behind. The courthouse hallway buzzed with nervous energy. Families huddled together in small groups, children clutching their parents' hands. Georgia sat beside me, reviewing our testimony one last time. Are you ready? She asked. Before I could answer, the courtroom doors opened. Tatum walked in, escorted by officers, her designer outfit replaced by standard jail attire. Her eyes locked with mine, and for a moment, I saw something I'd never seen before: fear. All rise, the bailiff called. The preliminary hearing began with the prosecution laying out their case. Evidence mounted as family after family testified about Tatum's manipulation and fraud. She told me my wife was mentally unstable. One father testified, convinced me to sign papers I never read. By the time I realized what was happening, my children were already separated and enrolled in different schools. Knox took the stand next, his voice shaking. I trusted her completely. She handled all our finances, all our decisions. When she said these families needed help, I believed her. Tatum's lawyer tried to paint her as a concerned aunt and community member who maybe went too far trying to help. But then came the financial evidence. Bank records show systematic theft exceeding $2 million. The forensic accountant testified. Multiple shell companies, fake educational programs, and forged documents spanning 5 years and 3 states. When it was my turn to testify, I felt Tatum's eyes boring into me. Mrs. Bennett, the prosecutor began, please tell us about the day you returned from surgery. I described finding my children gone, the manipulation, the lies. As I spoke, Jennifer squeezed Darnell's hand in the gallery. And what did you discover about Mrs. Phillips's long-term plans? She was building a case to take permanent custody of my children, I said clearly. She had forged psychological evaluations, claiming I was an unfit mother. Objection, Tatum's lawyer stood. Speculation. Overruled, the judge responded. Continue. I held up the documents Knox had found. These papers show she planned to file for emergency custody while I was still recovering from surgery. She forced my children to write letters, claiming they were afraid of me. That's not true, Tatum suddenly shouted, jumping up. I was protecting them. Hannah was weak, distracted. Those children needed structure, guidance. Mrs. Phillips, control yourself, the judge warned. You don't understand, Tatum continued, her perfect facade crumbling. I did what no one else would do. Those families were falling apart. I fixed them. By stealing their money, Knox called from his seat. By traumatizing children. Order. The judge banged his gavel. Mrs. Phillips, one more outburst, and you'll be removed. The prosecution presented their final piece of evidence, a recording from Jennifer's phone. Tatum's voice filled the courtroom. "Your mother's sick, Jenny, mentally sick. If you don't write this letter saying you're scared of her, they'll put you in foster care. Is that what you want?" Jennifer's small voice replied, "But I'm not scared of Mom. You're lying. Do it." Tatum's voice turned harsh, "Or you'll never see your brother again." The courtroom erupted in angry murmurs. Parents pulled their children closer. Tatum sat rigid in her chair, her face ashen. "Your Honor," the prosecutor stood, "given the overwhelming evidence of fraud, emotional abuse, and attempted custodial interference, we ask that the defendant be held without bail pending trial." "Your Honor, my client," Tatum's lawyer started, "has shown a pattern of manipulation and control that makes her a threat to these families." The judge interrupted. "Bail denied. This case will proceed to trial." As officers led Tatum away, she turned to me one last time. "I was right about you, Hannah. You're weak. You always were." "No, Tatum," I replied, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'm strong enough to protect my children from you. We all are." Outside the courthouse, the families gathered together. Sarah's mother organized a support group meeting for the following week. Knox promised to help track down more of Tatum's victims in other states. "Mom?" Jennifer tugged at my sleeve. "Can we go home now?" "Actually," Clifford stepped forward, "I was thinking maybe we could get ice cream first, as a family." The kids looked at me hopefully. Despite everything, they still wanted their father in their lives. "Ice cream sounds perfect," I said. As we walked to the car, Georgia caught my arm. "The detective called. They found more evidence at Tatum's house. This could turn into a federal case." I watched my children climbing into the back seat, together and safe. Clifford held the door open, his eyes asking for forgiveness and a chance to rebuild. "Whatever happens next," I said, "we'll face it together, all of us." Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in destroying your enemy, but in rebuilding what they tried to break. And sometimes, family means giving second chances to those who deserve them. Guilty on all counts. The judge's words echoed through the packed courtroom. Tatum stood motionless as the sentences were read out. 15 years for fraud, additional time for custodial interference, consecutive sentences totaling 23 years. I felt Jennifer squeeze my hand as Tatum was led away. This time, she didn't look back. Outside the courthouse, Knox approached our family group. "The restitution papers are signed. Every family will get their money back, plus interest." "It's not about the money," Sarah's mother said, hugging her daughter close. "It's about healing." Speaking of healing, Georgia called out, waving a stack of papers. "The support group numbers are growing. 3 more families came forward this morning." Darnell tugged at my sleeve. "Mom, can we show them now?" I nodded, and he pulled out his tablet. We made something, all us kids together. The gathered families crowded around as Darnell pressed play. On screen, children appeared one by one, all those who had been separated and manipulated by Tatum. Each spoke directly to the camera. "My name is Jennifer, and I am not afraid. I'm Darnell, and I know my mom loves me. I'm Sarah, and it wasn't my fault." One by one, they reclaimed their voices, their truth. Parents wiped away tears as their children's faces appeared, strong and resilient. "It was Jenny's idea," Clifford said softly beside me. "She said everyone needed to hear their own voice again." The video ended with all the children together, saying in unison, "We are not victims, we are survivors." "This is going viral," Knox said, checking his phone. "Other families are reaching out, not just about Tatum, about other cases, other manipulators." "Then we'll help them too," I said. "That's why we started the foundation." Georgia grinned. "Speaking of which, the first grant applications are in. 5 families seeking legal help to fight similar cases. We'll review them tomorrow," Sarah's father said, after the celebration. "Celebration?" Darnell perked up. "Ice cream," Jennifer announced. "Dad rented out the whole shop, Everyone's invited. As families began moving toward their cars, Knox held back. Hannah, there's something else you should know. The federal investigation found evidence of Tatum's schemes going back to college. She did this to me first. Isolated me from my family. Controlled everything. Knox, I touched his arm gently. You're free now. We all are. At the ice cream shop, children darted between tables, sharing stories and swapping flavors. Parents who had once been strangers now sat together, planning support meetings and foundation events. Clifford brought me a bowl of mint chocolate chip. He still remembered my favorite. The house feels whole again, he said quietly. With all of us there, I know I don't deserve. Stop, I interrupted. We're not talking about deserve anymore. We're talking about choose. Every day we choose to heal, to trust again, to be better. Mom, Darnell called out. Sarah's dad says we can use their lake house for the next kids' retreat. Perfect, I smiled. As long as there's no lake swimming until you finish your lessons. I can teach them, Clifford offered, like I taught Jennifer. Our daughter appeared beside us, ice cream cone in hand. Really, Dad, you'll come to the retreat. If you want me to, he said carefully. Jennifer considered this, then nodded. Yeah, I do. My phone buzzed. Another message from the detective. 2 more states opening investigations. You started something big here. Looking around the ice cream shop, I saw what we'd really started. Healing. Children laughing together. Parents sharing resources and support. Families rebuilding. Knox was organizing a father's support group. Georgia was helping Sarah's mother design a website for the foundation. Even Mrs. Harrison from Wellington had come, bringing news that the school's new family protection policies were being adopted across the state. Mom? Jennifer and Darnell sandwiched me in a hug. Can we get another scoop? Sure, I laughed. But remember, we're having family game night later. With Dad? Darnell asked. I met Clifford's hopeful gaze. With Dad? As my children raced back to the ice cream counter, I thought about Tatum's last words to me about being weak. She never understood that real strength isn't about control. It's about love, healing, and the courage to rebuild. Ready to head home? Clifford asked. Home. Not just a place, but a feeling. A choice we make every day. Yes, I said. Let's go home. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting better. And sometimes the greatest victory is simply finding your way back to love.